All right, welcome into the FNIA podcast. We are presented by Lowe's, joined by the greats. You know, Tony Dungy in the middle, Rodney Harrison over on the outside, Jack Collinsworth. Gentlemen, let's begin where we just were there in New York. Kansas City comes to town. They knock off the Giants, now 0-3, and we have a quarterback change. Russell Wilson will no longer be the starter. Jaxson Dart, the rookie, gets his opportunity. Rod, I'll start with here. Your thoughts on this move to now play Jaxson Dart will be against the Chargers, his first start.
Yeah, I thought it was a smart move to make. As you guys have known, the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about Jaxson Dart getting an opportunity, not necessarily being the starter, but a guy that can come in and contribute. Maybe he gets a series in the first quarter, maybe get a series in the second quarter, and a couple series in the second half, just to get him used, just in case something happens with Russell where they're not happy. But I think this is the right move, Coach. I think this young man provides them with a lot of energy. He's a different ball player. And quite frankly, you're not going to go anywhere with Russell Wilson. So I say play this young man and see what you got.
Well, I'm on the other side of the fence on that. To me, as an organization, you have to have a plan. What is the plan? And Denny Green used to say, you can't have two quarterbacks. You can't have three quarterbacks. Your team has to know who your quarterback is. So what did they go into the season saying? Jaxson Dart's not ready. Maybe he'll be ready down the road. Russell Wilson's our guy. Unless he has a couple of bad games, Jaxson Dart's going to be ready week 10. Or Russell Wilson's our guy. And as you say, give Jaxson Dart a role. But to me, to say, well, Jaxson wasn't our guy week 1. Russell had a bad game, but week 2 he came back and threw for 5 million yards. And then week 3 he had a bad game. So now Jaxson Dart's our guy. It doesn't make sense to me. What is the plan for the quarterback in New York? Okay. We saw Daniel Jones play in New York and look terrible. Was it his fault? I don't know. He looks pretty good right now. So I need to know what the plan is in New York for your quarterback.
Well, I'm going to guess the plan looked better than 0-3. I'm thinking if we're going to play Russ, we're going to go out and we're going to hopefully win some games and maybe even steal the game in Dallas. And now the fans aren't booing us on Sunday Night Football. There's a little bit of everybody has a plan till you get punched in the nose, right? And now everybody's going, okay, Dayball's fighting for his job, his life. The fans are restless as I'll get out. And Jaxson Dart in practice is lighting up the world. Because I was talking to some guys on the field before the game, and they had him playing Patrick Mahomes in practice, and he was lighting up the first team defense, making some throws that they're going, whoa. And so at some point, Brian Daboll is going, I got to get this guy on the field to save my job, but also just because he's the way he's playing in practice. So, Coach, does that change the plan?
Yeah, and I can see that because I was at the Pittsburgh Steelers practice last year, and that's what was happening. Justin Fields was quarterbacking the first team. Russell Wilson was quarterbacking the scout team and lighting up the first team defense. And I told you guys it won't be long until Russell's in the lineup because of what I saw in practice. So that does make sense. But I just think with a young quarterback, you need a plan. And that plan could be like the Green Bay plan. You're going to sit for a year or two behind that veteran, and you're going to learn, and you're going to be like Aaron Rodgers or Jordan Love, or it could be the plan like Peyton Manning. You're the starter from day one, and we don't care if you throw 500 interceptions, you're going to be in there, even though we go 3-13. But stick with the plan. Don't let outside factors get in and change your plan and cause you to panic.
Well, it's easy to say that when you're, when you're not coaching the New York Giants. And for me, Coach, I mean, this is a young man. They have Malik Neighbors. They have Cam Scatterboo. They have a really good core of young players. And the only way I believe that Malik Neighbors and Jaxson Dart continues to build that confidence is they got to play together. They got to practice together. They need those reps. And to me, this is just an admission. Hey, we're going to blow this thing up. We feel like we got a pretty good defense. We can fix some things in the secondary, but we're going to rebuild on offense with these young guys. And I really think this is the right move, Coach. And just like you talked to us about, that sometimes you got to put a guy out there just to see what he can do. And I'm really excited. I think this kid's going to inject some energy. It's going to be up and down. It's not going to be perfect. We all understand that. But I think ultimately, Jack, this is the right move to make. They need an infusion of energy, Coach.
But with that going on, my question is, why didn't you do it week one? Why didn't you say, hey, we got this young guy who's been exciting in training camp and in the offseason program. We're putting him in there, and we don't care what he does. He's our quarterback of the future. Let's go. Why didn't they do that week one?
Coach, I think a small part, hold on, Jack. I think a small part of it was them trying to appease the fan base. And you know, as an organization, I understand it. I understand it. You get a guy like Russell Wilson comes in, and the first month of the season, you kind of figure out, okay, are we going to be 2-2, maybe 1-3? And if we're struggling, then we'll give this young kid an opportunity. And I think you're spot on. They should have a plan. They say, you know, we're going to play Russell Wilson. We're going to play Jameis Winston. We're going to hold this kid until next year. We're not going to let him play. We're just going to let him do a lot of scout. They should have had a better plan. But I go back, and it's Brian Daboll. You know, you got to go back and you got to look at the head coach and what he's done the last few years that he's been here, and it just hasn't been good. When Malik Neighbors comes out and say, hey, this is not Daniel Jones' fault, what is he truly talking about? He's saying that it's Brian Daboll's fault. That's what he's saying. And you see what Daniel Jones is doing right now. So at the end of the day, this is typical Giants, you know, organizing everything and not doing the right thing by the players.
Yeah, I think you hit it at the end there. Who made the decision early in the season? And I think it was an organizational decision more so than a head coach decision. And Coach Dungy, I'll come to you with that. I mean, does that sometimes just happen? Because I think if it was up to Daboll, it would have been Jaxson Dart. I'm just being honest.
If what you're saying is true, then it's the beginning of the end or the end of the end for Brian Daboll. When the organization starts making decisions for the head coach, you're going to get a new head coach.
Wow.
Do you think that it was his decision to play Russell Wilson? I mean,
I hope it was.
Okay.
I hope it was, because if it wasn't, again, that's the beginning of the end. If you're the head coach and you say, I want to do A, B, and C, and the organization says, no, we're doing D, E, and F, you're not going to be there long.
Yeah. What's the old saying that you draft the quarterback that the next regime is going to come in and coach, and the more you like them, the harder that can be sometimes, Coach.
No, you have to have plans, and you go, and I've told this story before. You know, Edgerrin James his contract was up, and we had to decide whether we're going to re-sign him, and we go back and forth, and some of us wanted to, some of us didn't. We sit down and everybody says, well, this is what it's going to cost. And you come to a conclusion. But if I'm the coach and I say, I want to re-sign Edgerrin James, and the organization says, no, we're not, you know, you don't have much longer time there.
Yeah, fair enough. So what's next for Russell Wilson? Because now we're looking at his career, and he's in Seattle, and they kind of let him go to Denver. He gets a big contract. They don't even want to pay that money. Then he goes to Pittsburgh. There's some buoyancy in some moments. And then they let him walk, and he goes to New York, and we're week 3, and he's the backup quarterback. So where does he go from here now, Coach?
I think he's going to end up going someplace that and we talked about it on our show after post-game Sunday night. Everybody needs backup quarterbacks. And there were 5 quarterbacks who got hurt, and there were backup quarterbacks playing Sunday. Somebody's going to want Russell Wilson to say, you be our backup. You may never play, but if we need you, we want that competent guy, Carson Wentz. Okay, that's what Russell's going to be, in my opinion, from here on out.
Yeah, the only thing I say about that is, will Russell, because I think Russell still views himself as a starting quarterback, and one of the better starting quarterbacks. You know, he's never short on confidence. So I just don't know if that's going to sit well with him, or if he's willing to be a backup quarterback.
Yeah, he may not take that role. Yeah. I don't see it any other way, but Jameis Winston is doing that. You know, Jameis is a former starter, former high pick, and he's saying, you know, I'm content to be on the team.
Yeah,
and if
but
they need me, they turn to me.
Yeah, but two different players, Coach. He's not as accomplished as Russell Wilson. He's not a Super Bowl winner. He hasn't done nearly the type of things that Russell Wilson has done. So we've always viewed Jameis Winston as a borderline starter / backup, but we've always viewed Russell Wilson as a starter. And I don't know if his pride, if his ego, if just him believing in himself, if he's willing to regulate. Basically say, hey, I'm going to be a backup.
Yeah. And Rod, you said you've always believed that Russ is a starter, but what do you believe right now? I mean, we're talking about the fourth different team. He's getting older. We're watching him play. It was not good Sunday night. I mean, we've always believed it, but what do we believe right now with Russell Wilson? Is he a starter or a backup?
I would say he's a backup right now, and he's a really good backup, a guy that is a tremendous leader who's been captain for, a number of years. That he's played, and a guy that people look up to. Guys respect him. You may not like him. I've heard guys call him corny and all this other stuff. At the end of the day, this man takes care of his business. He works hard. He's a family man. He's made hundreds of millions of dollars, Coach, and I just don't see him going in a bad situation. Now, if he has an opportunity to maybe go to Kansas City and back up, I would think that would be a knockout, or Philadelphia, or team, or even Baltimore, where he can come in. And if one of those guys get hurt, he has a really good, stable foundation around him. But him going to these mid-tier teams like a Pittsburgh, even the Giants, I mean, he's just going to continue to get frustrated. The first month of the season, they're going to judge him based off that. They're going to bench him. And he didn't deserve to get benched. They need better players and better situations around him. But at the end of the day, now you have this young quarterback sitting there waiting. The fan base is getting anxious. They're booing the head coach. So now he feels the pressure. So he feels like he's pressed to play this young guy. But Russell, if I'm him, I'm finding the best situation. And I'm going, like I said, Kansas City. I'm trying to go to Baltimore. I'm trying to go where I can play and possibly be a contender.
We'll leave that right there. There's always the hybrid situation of Bengals are desperate. Hey, Russ, we'll throw you a seventh round pick, and that's where a backup could become a starter again.
And I'd love to see Russell Wilson playing with those receivers. Well, I don't know if I'd want him with that offensive line, though.
Fair enough. I don't think I want anybody behind that.
See what I mean about those mid-tier teams?
That's it. That's the life. That's the life. Let's get down to these rookies, guys. 3 weeks in, which rookies have stood out? Is there a name, Rodney, that you're buzzing on? Go ahead.
Yeah, my guy in Tampa Bay, Coach, and I told you he was going to be the best receiver, Emeka Egbuka, man. I'm a big fan of his, just the level of professionalism. Coach, you told me, I asked you about this young man, and you just talked about the way he carries himself. He's a bigger, more physical receiver. He can play slot. He can play out wide. And the young man has produced, Jack. He scored a few touchdowns, but making, really tough catches in critical moments. And to have a young receiver like that where you can count on like he's a veteran, that's the difference between him and all the other rest of the guys, Coach.
You're right. They're raving about him down here. Just the way he is in the locker room, how he comes early in the morning, stays late, works hard, doesn't complain, all of those things on top of the talent level. They love him. And he was on my list too. The other guy I'm going to hit, Jack, and you mentioned it the other day, is Josh Simmons, left tackle for Kansas City. That was a weak spot for them. And now we watch the game, and he's not even showing up. He's just over there doing his job, and nobody's talking about the left tackle rookie starting and playing good ball for them. I think he's been outstanding.
Yeah. The weakness now is the right tackle spot, which is the one that they paid for in Jawan Taylor. He's the one who's kind of lining up off sides and trying to leave his stance early and really just kind of on skates for the most part over there. But that's a late first-round pick, too, that they hit on big. I think Kansas City, panic button through 2 weeks maybe, but I'm not panicking at all now. They get those receivers back. The O-line gets a little better. It's going to be a deep offense. I think Kansas City is going to get stronger and stronger each week of the season. Rod, is that an agreement nod, or is that you're out of your mind nod over there?
No, I agree with you guys totally. And Coach, Josh was on my list as well. I mean, you see, the more reps this young man gets, the more comfortable he continues to get. at that left tackle position. And then you look at his athleticism, the way he moves his feet, his hand placement, and just this quiet nastiness about him. He kind of reminds you of a Trent Williams, a quieter Trent Williams. Just got a very, very nasty, mean streak. And now you get to the point where Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to necessarily concern himself with that left side, and you can use the, maybe the fullback or the tight end, the chip on the other side to help the right tackle. But this kid, between him and Joe Alt, they're going to be fighting for the Pro Bowl a long time, the next 10 years. They got some special players here.
That was my thought too. You come in at left tackle, toughest position to play as a rookie, and the three lines you play against Philadelphia, who's got a very good defensive line. You play against the Chargers and those pass rushers and Khalil Mack, and then you play last week, and no one's talking about the left tackle. You aren't showing up, and so that's what they drafted. That's what they wanted. That's what they got. And I think they're very, very happy right now with that pick.
Coach, and that's an excellent point, because that was a big deal, because that's all we talked about was the left tackle position for the last 3-4 years, the right tackle position. Now you don't have to worry about it because you got an absolute stud. This was a home run of a pick right here.
It was. Gave up 0 pressures against the Philadelphia Eagles. That's one of the toughest guys, toughest rushes you're going to deal with. 0 pressures.
And then what did we talk about last week? Brian Burns and Abdul Carter and all the guys that they could put over there. And he just did his job and moved on.
He did. You're right, Coach. All right. Which rookies have been surprisingly quiet? Rod, I'll start with you here. Anybody you had high expectations for? You just haven't seen it yet.
Coach, I have to go back to Travis Hunter. And I just think they're doing him an injustice, playing him both ways. Now, I was a really good safety, and I worked my butt off to learn safety, the defense, and just all the ins and outs of playing on the defensive side of the ball. It's tough to be a great player in the National Football League, let alone trying to play 2 positions. So the question I asked Jacksonville, do you want him to be a solid player on both sides, or do you want him to be a standout, outstanding Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber player? He's not going to do it playing both sides. Eventually, he's going to get hurt, and you're doing the young man an injustice because he's splitting time between both offense and defense. Players, when he gets on offense, they're going to want to hit him. They don't want him scoring and dancing and things like that. So to me, is this more of a marketing plot for Jacksonville, or are you truly doing what's in the best interest of this young man? And playing him both ways, to me, is not in the best interest of this young man.
I totally agree with you. When you look at today's game and how much you have to put in the mental side of it and the preparation side, and you know yourself how late you stayed and what you did preparing. Now try to do that twice. Try to prepare on offense and defense the same way. I don't think you have a chance to do that. I agree. They should put him in one spot, let him work there, be proficient. Now, if you got a special situation, you got a couple plays you're going to use him on offense, or you're going to put him in on a big third down to cover the slot receiver, I get it, but not splitting your time and not trying to play 40 plays on each side of the ball.
You look at a guy like Tyler Warren, who's been absolutely outstanding, devastating, just been dominating the offensive side of the ball. Just imagine if he was playing defensive end and he was playing tight end. Right. I mean, he wouldn't have the same effect or the same impact. Now, you look at Travis Hunter. Yeah, he's okay on defense. He's okay on offense. Now you go up, you draft a guy, and he's just okay on both sides. So I look at the people in Jacksonville and really question, do they know what they're doing? Because if I had a talent like this, I would have him on one side of the ball, honing in, and he's going to eventually be a Pro Bowl / all-pro player, especially with him next to Brian Thomas. I mean, that's 2 young, talented guys like that. I mean, come on, Coach.
I totally agree with you. Totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, to the point, I mean, we saw him play defense, and not the whole game, but late in the game against Cincinnati. This is their one loss, and he gave up 2 big 4th downs where they really were going after him, one a penalty, and they weren't afraid to go after him. And so that's my only hesitation with select moments or big moments in the game too, is Does he know what he's doing? Is he comfortable?
Well,
All those things, Coach.
and then you mentioned it. When did that happen? Fourth quarter. Okay, so you played 40 plays on offense, and now you played 30 more on defense. And now we need you for the biggest play of the game on play number 80, and you're not quite there. I don't think that's his fault at all.
Yeah. And remember, the guys that he's going up against, while he's out on both sides of the ball, they're sitting on the bench getting rest, recovering. So I just think it's a bad look for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's true. Okay, so a few weeks in, which rookie is due to break out? This may be the toughest of these three questions. Who's due to break out? I'll start with you here, Coach.
I've got two running backs I've got my eye on. Omarion Hampton, okay? Yep. He's been averaging 13 carries a game. We know they want to run the ball. We know they've got a good offensive line. He was splitting time with Najee Harris. Well, now, unfortunately, Najee's hurt. He's going to get more time, more reps, get the ball more. I look for him to break out in this next month. And then my other running back is Cam Scatterboo. We saw him and Jaxson Dart coming in. I don't think Jackson's going to light it up, but that read option and more plays for the back where they've got to defend the quarterback. And as hard as he runs, I would see him doing some damage here in these next few weeks too.
Yeah, two excellent choices, and I'm going to go with Omarion Hampton because it almost seems like Harbaugh has been trying to kind of put him on the back burner, trying to bring him around slowly. But no Najee Harris, this is an opportunity. I mean, he's going to assume the duty. Now he has an opportunity to unleash this young man and see what he has. He's young. He's hungry. Hey, let him go, man. Give him the ball 20 times. Give him an opportunity. I think this kid, with behind this offensive line and all the play action pass and the threat of Justin Herbert throwing the ball down the field, I think this is going to really open up this offense. I think he's a better running back than Najee Harris. I think they actually upgrade at running back.
And as you know, most big, strong running backs get better the more they get the ball. Well, he's been getting 12, 13 carries a game. Up that to 17, 18, 19, see what happens. I think that's exactly going to be the case, Rob.
Absolutely, Jack.
All right, running backs due to break out. Let's get to our week 4 preview. Houston has a problem. One of these headlines here, how can they fix it? They lost to the Rams, the Bucks, the Jags. They're 29th in total offense. They're last in points per game. They're last in third down percentage. This was once one of the most hyped young quarterbacks in groups in the NFL. Coach, where are they now? What's going on?
Well, they haven't fixed the offensive line. That's what they wanted to do. They're not running the ball dominant. They're not really protecting. They have been very, very poor on third down. Now, do you point to the play calls? Do you point to CJ? I'm not sure. But they've got to get in sync and score some points. And I just don't know where that comes from. They're receivers. They've been in and out of the lineup. Different guys haven't been healthy. They've got to get some chemistry and get it going.
I look on the defensive side of the ball, Coach, and they've lost these first 3 games by 7 points or less. And, them releasing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, he was a big part of the problem. Coach D'Amico Ryans talked about the lack of communication in the secondary, lack of leadership, and they decided to move on from him. He gave up a lot of big plays in those losses. So to me, it's nothing to panic about. He has to focus down on his defense, all the little miscues, and just get them playing good, communicating and flying around. What can you do with the offensive line at this point, Coach? Can you go out and try to trade for another lineman? I mean, what can you truly do? Is there more 6- and 7-man protection to protect C.J. Stroud? I don't know what else you can do offensively at this point.
Yeah. I don't think they can change it around either on offense. They've got to get, not having Joe Mixon in there. They haven't had that spark. I know Chubb has been in, hasn't looked like the explosive guy yet. Maybe that comes on. But defensively, I think you're right. They've got to pick it up. Okay, our offense is struggling a little bit. They've got so many playmakers on defense, and they only have 2 takeaways in 3 games. Yeah. That's not what we expect from these guys. You got Danielle Hunter and just
Will Anderson, all them guys.
Yeah. Will Anderson and guys who can get after the quarterback. And you've got guys who can make plays in the secondary, and they haven't done that yet. So if I was the coach Ryans, I would say, come on defense for now. Until this offense gets going, you guys have to go win some games for us.
It feels like it was just last year we had them about 6 times on Sunday Night Football. I don't think we're going to see them in prime time anytime soon. Let's get down to the Ravens and the Chiefs. They're 2-1-2 teams here, which means somebody's going to leave this game at 1-3. Rodney, Baltimore and Kansas City. How do you see this matchup? Maybe not the records we expected going into it here.
Yeah, and for me, my eyes is going and my attention going to defense coordinator Zach Orr. And I don't know what else they need to do, Coach. I mean, I hadn't seen the Baltimore Ravens get pushed around and bullied by that big offensive line of the Lions. And just to see those linemen on top of those linebackers, obviously Matabike, he didn't play. Kyle Van Noy didn't play. It'll help having those two guys back because they're good run stoppers. But just overall, maybe they need some help on the defensive side of the ball, Coach. Maybe another consultant to come in because this is a young guy. His intentions are right, but this defense is just too talented for them to perform the way they performed.
When you think of Baltimore, we think of Ray Lewis and Ed Reed.
Lodi Nada.
Yeah, I mean, you think of defense. They are leading the league in scoring, and they're 1-2. Their offense, is playing lights out. They've scored 40 points in a game and lost it. They scored 30 points last week and lost. This is not the Baltimore we're used to seeing. And I know they've had some injuries. Van Noy didn't play last week. But somehow they've got to get that energy back. They've got to get that focus back, and they have to start stopping people. Now, Kansas City, on the other hand, hasn't played great offense. You can run the ball on Baltimore. We've seen that in the first 3 weeks. Kansas City's not even trying to run the ball. So to me, this is going to be which unit shows up. Does the Kansas City offense show up and take advantage of it and put 30 points on the board, or does the Baltimore defense play like we know they can play?
Short week too for Baltimore, coming off a tough game.
Physical game, that makes a difference for one.
It does make a difference. I mean, do you guys have somebody that you like? Do you like the Ravens? Do you like Kansas City better in this game, knowing it's a big week 4 game, Rod?
I like Baltimore. I think this is a desperation game for them. I think this is one of those opportunities where you don't want to go 1-3 and you got the Chargers playing well. You don't want to, you've already lost to Buffalo. Then now you lose to the Chiefs. I think this is closer to a must win for the Ravens.
Yeah. And Baltimore really could be 3-0 other than Derrick Henry 3 fourth quarter fumbles. And we don't expect to see that. Why has that happened? I think Baltimore is going to go in thinking we've got to outscore Kansas City, and their offense has been playing great. So we'll see what happens. But I think right now I have more faith in that Baltimore defense getting re-energized than the Kansas City offense. I don't see Kansas City putting up 30 points to win this game.
Yeah. And we also have a battle of 3-0s. We have the Eagles, we have the Bucks over on the NFC side. The only matchup between 2 3-0 teams. First thing that comes to mind, Rod, looking at this game.
Well, you watch the Bucks, and they really haven't played their best game. But you see, just watching them, the maturity of the team, the trust in Baker Mayfield that they have, and just how the defense has been flying around making plays. So if I'm Todd Bowles, I'm encouraged by my team learning how to win in different ways. They haven't played great teams, but they've been able to finish. Atlanta, New York, the Jets, they've been able to finish, and that's what you look at the end of the day.
Philadelphia kind of reminds me of last year's Chiefs. They're winning these games, but they're not winning Philadelphia style. Saquon Barkley is a 2,000-yard rusher. He's averaging about 60 yards a game. We're not used to seeing that. Their offensive line used to push people around and bully them. They're not running the ball that well this year. The defensive line always controlled the line of scrimmage, and they're giving up almost 5 yards a rush. We're not used to seeing that from Philadelphia. I just don't know if Tampa has the healthy bodies to take advantage of that. Their right guard is on IR. Their right tackle is on IR. Tristan Wirfs, the left tackle, questionable, may play, may not. 2 best receivers are going to be out. Godwin, I don't think, is going to play again. Mike Evans is out. So if they had everybody there, I would say this is a game Tampa could win. I'm not sure they have the personnel healthy to win this game this week.
The one thing about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they don't mind being in ugly games. They can make it as ugly and nasty as possible. And Baker Mayfield, he loves those type of games. So I know they're missing a lot of people, but the Bucs have shown over and over, just like the Eagles, that they're capable of winning those tight, close games in the end.
And I think it is going to be an ugly game. And then you look at the Eagles, they're 3-0. But if CeeDee Lamb doesn't drop 3 balls right in his hands, if Travis Kelce doesn't drop a touchdown pass right in his hands, and they don't block 2 field goals.
Yep.
You know, these games, now they're winning and they're doing it. They're making the plays. They're getting the interception. They're getting the block kick. But this is not the dominant Philadelphia team that we saw the second half of last year.
That's the most important point. This is not the most dominant team that we've seen. Absolutely. They're a totally different team. That's a great call by you, Coach.
I got to ask you, too, with the blocked field goals. They're taking they're taking Davis, Jalen Carter, their 2 best defensive linemen. They're putting them over the same guard. They're driving this guy into another stratosphere. I mean, Coach, what do they got to do? Bring a fullback in behind this guard? And how do you now block this thing with the strategy they're employing?
I don't know how you deal with it. To me, that's brilliant by their special teams coach. And I happen to know him, Michael Clay. He played at University of Oregon with my son, so I'm going to give him some props for doing that. But I don't know how you deal with that. Those 2 big guys coming off the ball like that, Rodney, they want it. They know now they can make those plays. They're going to be tough to deal with.
Yeah, Jalen Carter said he noticed that the kicker was kicking the ball very low. Yeah. And he went to, I guess, his buddy and was like, hey, man, if we get a good push, we'll have a great opportunity to block it. So as a kicker, you just got to be able to get the ball up fast. You can't have that kind of that low penetrating kick. You got to get it up fast because those guys are big. Jordan Davis is 6'6". He's a big man. And you look at Jalen Carter, he's every bit of 6'3", 6'4". Those are huge human beings. So yeah, you got to get that ball.
They're going to have these kickers that play against them thinking that my kick has to go this way now. And just, how is that going to impact the kicker?
They are. They're taking that guard that is right in line with the center of those 2 uprights. And they're saying, you want to aim right here? We'll be right here waiting for you.
We're coming after you.
Come on down. All right, let's get to the Packers and the Cowboys. Sunday Night Football, Micah Parsons, he gets on a plane and he goes back to Dallas. Rodney, this is going to be such a fun game. How do you see the game on paper, though, right now? Where are these 2 teams?
Well, I look at the Packers and I like what they're doing on the defensive side of the ball. Look, up front, the front 7, I like what they're doing. I like the linebackers coach. I think they're very athletic. They get to the football. But you see there's a difference when Micah Parsons out there. When he's out there, he's getting chipped. And the last game that I watched him coach, he didn't look 100% healthy. He looked like he got chipped and he might have hurt his back. Mm-hmm. So, but if I'm the Cowboys, I'm going in there all week and my message is, look, guys, this is not about one player. This is not about one person. We're going to keep it. It's all about the team, and we're not going to talk about Micah Parsons. So I think just going into the game and not making a big deal about Micah Parsons coming back, I think that's the most important message that Schottenheimer can get to his team, just focusing on what they can do. But in terms of X's and O's, Coach, I'm always having 2 guys on Micah Parsons. I'm not going to allow him to create that emotion that he brings, making a big sack on Dak Prescott.
What I see when I look at this game is just what you're saying, Rodney. To me, you've got 3 good units. The Packers' defense has been very good. Their offense has been good. Jordan Love only 1 turnover, hitting almost 70% of his passes. We know they've got Josh Jacobs. They've got a complete unit. The Dallas offense has been good. They've thrown the ball really well. Dak Prescott has been good. The one bad unit out there is the defense of the Cowboys. They have not been able to stop anybody. They're bad on 3rd down. They're not getting takeaways. They've given up a ton of big plays. They're giving up 30 points a game. They're last in the league against the pass. That is the unit, to me, that's going to decide the game. Can they come up and make some plays? If they don't and they get behind, then if Dallas has to throw to win the game, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, you know what? And if I'm Matt Eberflus just watching the game, I am benching Trayvon Diggs. It's not even a question about it. We say, what's wrong with their passing game? It's him. It's him doing his own thing. You got to understand, he's a fantastic player, but he's coming off an injury. So when I watch him play, he's doing whatever he wants to do out there. He's standing tall, trying to quick jam a guy. He slips, and the guy beats him for an easy touchdown. He's looking back he's staring at the quarterback, not paying attention to his guy. He gets beat for another beat, a big play down the field. I can't build a defense when I have one of my top players doing his own thing. So I would almost think that the Cowboys would be a better secondary, sitting him down and getting somebody in there that's going to do things right. Yeah, maybe they don't have the interceptions or the pick sixes, but getting somebody that can do things right the right way and sending a message to everybody in your locker room. I wouldn't hesitate to sit him down, coach. That's just me. I've watched this kid play, and quite frankly, my last point, quite frankly, I'm just so sick and tired of him thinking that he can do whatever he wants out there. His fundamentals, his technique is terrible, and he wonders why he continues to get beat. And Matt Eberflus allows him to do this? I mean, it's killing the team. And it's so disheartening every time you go out there, you're playing your butt off, and then you see Trayvon Diggs chasing somebody, and the receiver's 5 yards past him. It's crazy, man. And if I were on that team, I would go straight to him like, dude, you're killing us. You need to focus more. You need to be better on your technique. You just have to be a better player. And that's what they need. They need Matt Eberflus to step up and send a message to this defense. And that would be the perfect message.
And you're so right, Rod, because if you take the background on this, Matt Eberflus came up and grew up in the Rod Marinelli, Monty Kiffin, Lovie Smith family. And it's all about technique and fundamentals. We're not playing individual stars. We're not playing a lot of one-on-one stuff. We got 3 or 4 simple defenses. Everybody executes. You know where your help is. You play total football, and you play discipline. And that's who Matt Eberflus is. And you're right, he's not getting that from Trayvon Diggs right now.
I wonder if they could trade him. I mean, that's one of those. He's making a lot of money. That's it's hard when
who the heck wants that? Who wants that? Somebody that you got to pay $20 million to that you can't trust. I don't want that. I don't want him on my team, Jack. I'm just saying, bro.
Right, but it's all a matter who picks up the bill. I'm sure in that scenario, Dallas would have to eat some portion of that bill. But I mean, that's the money they were looking for to pay Micah Parsons. I mean, Trayvon Diggs is eating a big portion of that. And now, since they let Parsons go, we've seen them pay various parts of this roster, right? Guys that they wanted to get deals done with, which I'm okay with. I understand. The problem is you already have those guys. I mean, those guys are on the team when you've struggled. And so you're not getting new pieces. You're not getting new assets. You're just paying the guys that you're already struggling with. And that's the cycle that Dallas is in right now. Coach, go ahead.
And I want to go back to Rodney's point, because a little unknown or little known fact. The guy that coached those defensive backs for the last 3 or 4 years is a guy named Al Harris, who played for me in Tampa. And Al Harris, you know what a dog he was as a player. And he's not going to take that kind of stuff. And he's going to have those guys playing, or they're going to be in his office. And now I don't know who's coaching them, but we're not seeing the same type of discipline. And that's one of those coaching moves. Al left and went, when Mike Zimmer was released.
Yep.
And that cornerback coach has made a difference, in my opinion.
For sure. All right, Micah Parsons goes back to Dallas. I can't wait to watch this game. We'll see if the Cowboys can hang in there. They're lucky to have that one win over the Giants, and that was one of those toss-up crazy games that they stole. So 1-2 Cowboys, 2-1 Packers. All of football night in America will be there on the field, gentlemen. I can't wait to see you. What a game in the NFC. We'll see how it all goes down. FNIA podcast.
It's going to be fun.
Wow. Peace. See you guys. Appreciate you.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.